There is a $1 trick that parents have been using for decades to make their babies sleep longer, and almost nobody talks about it. It does not require a single battery. It does not need to be charged. You do not need an app, a subscription, or a special device. You probably already have everything you need sitting in your home right now. Pediatric sleep researchers have studied it. Hospitals use it in their newborn units. And a study published in a major medical journal found that 80% of newborns fell asleep within 5 minutes when it was used. The other 20% took longer, but they still fell asleep. Meanwhile, the baby product industry sells you $80 machines, $150 smart bassinets, and $200 sleep trackers. None of them work better than this one simple trick, and none of them cost $1. This is the story of the cheapest, most effective baby sleep tool that has ever existed, and why nobody in the baby product industry wants you to know its name. Welcome to Clara Bennett Baby Care. This is where we give tired parents real answers, backed by real science, with no fluff and no judgment. If this channel helps you, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a video. Let us start with something that most parents never think about. Before your baby was born, it spent 9 full months inside the womb. And the womb is not a quiet place. Researchers at the University of Florida recorded the actual sound environment inside the uterus. What they found surprised a lot of people. The average sound level inside the womb measures between 70 and 90 decibels. To put that in perspective, a normal conversation between two people measures around 60 decibels. The inside of a running dishwasher measures around 70. Your baby spent 9 months surrounded by the constant sound of your heartbeat, the rush of blood through your arteries, the movement of your digestive system, and the muffled sounds of the outside world filtering through layers of tissue and fluid. That is what your baby knows as normal. That is what your baby knows as safe. Then the baby is born, and suddenly, the world goes quiet. The house is still. The room is dark, and your baby's nervous system does not recognize that silence as calm. It recognizes it as something unfamiliar, something that does not match the environment where it spent the first 9 months of its life. This is the root of something that exhausts millions of parents every single night. Your baby is not broken. Your baby is not difficult. Your baby is simply responding to an environment that feels completely different from the one it was designed for. And the solution to that problem costs $1. White noise. Not a machine, not an app, not a $90 sound soother with 12 different settings, and a companion app you have to update every 3 months. A simple fan. A box fan from any hardware store or supermarket costs between $1 and $5 at a garage sale, or you can find one in the back of a closet right now. Turned to its lowest setting, it produces a steady, constant, low-frequency hum that fills the room with exactly the kind of sound your baby's brain recognizes as familiar. The science behind why this works is not complicated, and it is worth understanding, because once you understand it, you will never look at your baby's sleep the same way again. In 1990, researchers at the Archives of Disease in Childhood, a peer-reviewed medical journal, published a study that has since been cited over 150 times by other scientists. The researchers took 40 newborn babies between 2 and 7 days old and split them into 2 groups. One group was placed in a room with white noise playing. The other group was placed in a room with no white noise. The result was clear. 16 out of 20 babies in the white noise group, which is 80%, fell asleep within 5 minutes. In the control group without white noise, only 5 out of 20 babies, which is 25%, fell asleep in the same amount of time. That is not a small difference. That is a dramatic difference. And those babies were 2 to 7 days old. They had not learned anything yet. They were simply responding to a sound that matched what they had heard for 9 months inside the womb. But falling asleep faster is only part of the story. The other part is staying asleep. This is where the fan becomes even more valuable. Your baby's sleep is not one long, unbroken stretch. Like all humans, babies cycle through light and deep sleep stages throughout the night. During the transition between those stages, babies are very easy to wake up. A door closing in another room, a car driving past outside, a sibling walking down the hallway. Any sudden sound can pull a baby out of a light sleep stage and trigger the startle reflex, which pediatricians call the Moro reflex. When that reflex fires, the baby's arms fling outward, the baby gasps, and the baby wakes up fully. You are then back to square one at 2 in the morning. White noise solves this problem by creating what sleep researchers call auditory masking. The steady, constant hum of the fan fills the room with a consistent background sound. When a sudden noise happens, the contrast between that noise and the background is much smaller. The baby's brain does not register it as a threat. The startle reflex does not fire. The baby stays asleep through the light sleep transition and moves into the next deep sleep cycle without waking up. This is not a theory. It is basic auditory neuroscience that has been studied and confirmed repeatedly in both infant and adult sleep research. A 2021 review published in the journal Sleep Medicine Reviews looked at all the available research on noise and sleep. The researchers found consistent evidence that steady background noise, including white noise and fan sounds, reduces the number of times people wake up during the night by masking the sudden sounds that would otherwise disturb sleep. The same principle that helps adults sleep through a noisy apartment building helps your baby sleep through the sounds of your home. Now here is where the baby product industry comes in, and here is where the story gets frustrating. The global baby product market is worth over $320 billion per year. A significant portion of that market is built around sleep products. White noise machines for babies range from $30 to $150. Smart bassinets that rock and play sounds can cost $200 to $1,700. Sleep tracking devices, wearable monitors, and app-connected sound machines add hundreds more. The companies that make these products are not selling you better sleep for your baby. They are selling you the feeling of doing something. They are selling you the comfort of believing that a more expensive product must work better than a simple fan. But the research does not support that belief. The same auditory masking effect that a $90 white noise machine produces is produced by a $1 fan. The same low-frequency, steady sound that calms a baby's nervous system comes from a simple motor turning a set of plastic blades. The physics do not change based on the price tag. This is not a new observation. Parents have been putting fans in their babies' rooms for generations. And for generations, those parents noticed that their babies slept longer and woke up less. They did not need a study to tell them it worked. They could see it working every night. The research simply confirmed what those parents already knew. But there is something else the research found that the baby product industry definitely does not want you to know. A study published in the Archives of Pediatrics and Adolescent Medicine in 2008 looked at the relationship between fan use during infant sleep and the risk of sudden infant death syndrome, which is commonly known as SIDS. The researchers analyzed data from 185 infant deaths and 312 healthy infants as a control group. They found that having a fan on in the baby's room during sleep was associated with a 72% reduction in SIDS risk. The adjusted odds ratio was 0.28, meaning babies who slept in rooms with a fan running were dramatically less likely to die from SIDS than babies who slept in rooms without one. The researchers believe this is because a fan keeps the air in the room circulating. One of the risk factors for SIDS is the rebreathing of exhaled carbon dioxide that can pool around a baby's face in a still, unventilated room. A fan prevents that pooling by keeping the air moving. A $1 fan. A 72% reduction in the most feared risk for parents of newborns. This study was published in one of the most respected pediatric medical journals in the world. It was covered by the New York Times, Reuters, ABC News, and The Guardian. And yet the vast majority of new parents have never heard about it. Now let us talk about the room itself, because the fan is only one piece of the puzzle. The science of infant sleep is clear about one other factor that costs almost nothing to address: darkness. A study published in the journal Sleep Medicine in 2022, which tracked 313 infants from birth to 6 months using objective sleep measurements called actigraphy, found that babies who slept in a consistently dark environment slept 28 minutes longer per night than babies who slept in rooms with some light present. That is not a small number. Over a week, that adds up to more than 3 extra hours of sleep. Over a month, it adds up to more than 13 hours. The researchers from the Rise and Shine cohort study at Massachusetts General Hospital found this association held even after controlling for other factors, like feeding method and parental behavior. The reason darkness matters so much comes down to a hormone called melatonin. Melatonin is the chemical signal your body uses to tell itself that it is time to sleep. In adults, melatonin production rises in the evening as light levels drop. In babies, this system is still developing. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found that light exposure suppresses melatonin production twice as much in children as it does in adults. Even dim light in a baby's room before and during sleep can significantly reduce the melatonin signal that the baby's brain needs to fall into deep, sustained sleep. The fix costs nothing. Blackout curtains can be made from a piece of dark fabric taped over a window. A towel placed along the bottom of a door stops light from creeping in from the hallway. The goal is simple. When it is time for your baby to sleep, the room should be as dark as you can make it. The third piece of the puzzle is temperature. The Lullaby Trust, which is the UK's leading organization for safer infant sleep, recommends a room temperature between 16 and 20 degrees Celsius, which is between 61 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, for sleeping babies. The Sleep Foundation in the United States recommends keeping the baby's room below 22 degrees Celsius, which is 72 degrees Fahrenheit. The reason is straightforward. Babies cannot regulate their own body temperature the way adults can. When a room is too warm, a baby's body works harder to cool down, which disrupts sleep and increases the risk of overheating. A room that is slightly cool, combined with appropriate clothing and a light sleep sack, creates the ideal conditions for deep, sustained sleep. And a fan, running on its lowest setting, helps maintain that cool, circulating air environment, while simultaneously providing the white noise that masks sudden sounds. There is one more thing worth understanding before we get to the practical steps, and this is the part that most sleep advice completely skips over. A lot of parents try white noise for 1 or 2 nights, notice some improvement, and then stop using it because the baby seems to be doing okay without it. Then, a week later, the baby starts waking up again, and the parents cannot figure out why. The reason is that white noise works best as a consistent part of the sleep environment, not as a one-time fix. A study published in the journal Sleep Health in 2021 found that babies who had a bedtime routine that was consistent at least 5 nights per week and that started no later than 9 p.m. had significantly longer and less variable nighttime sleep than babies without a consistent routine. The key word there is consistent. Your baby's brain is constantly learning. Every night, it is building a map of what sleep feels like, what the room sounds like, what the room looks like, what happens right before sleep begins. When those things are the same every night, the brain starts to associate them with sleep. The fan sound becomes a signal. The dark room becomes a signal. The cool temperature becomes a signal. Over time, those signals get stronger, and the baby falls asleep faster and stays asleep longer because the brain recognizes the environment and knows what is supposed to happen next. This is why the research on bedtime routines is so consistent. A study published in the journal Sleep in 2009 by Dr. Jody Mindell, one of the leading pediatric sleep researchers in the world, followed 405 mothers and their babies and toddlers over 3 weeks. The families who introduced a consistent bedtime routine saw significant reductions in how long it took their babies to fall asleep and significant reductions in the number of times their babies woke up during the night. The mothers in that group also reported significant improvements in their own mood. The families who did not change their routine saw no improvement at all. The routine in that study was simple: bath, massage, quiet time, then sleep. The same order, the same activities, every night. The fan running in the background, the room dark, the temperature cool. That combination, repeated consistently, is what builds the sleep associations that make nights easier over time. Here is exactly what to do starting tonight. Place a fan in your baby's room, not pointing directly at the baby, but aimed at a wall or the ceiling, so the air circulates without blowing directly on your baby's face. Set it to the lowest speed. The goal is a steady, gentle hum that fills the room, not a strong airflow. Make the room as dark as possible. Cover windows with whatever you have available. block light from under the door. Check the room temperature and aim for somewhere between 18 and 20 degrees Celsius. Dress your baby in a single layer appropriate for that temperature and use a sleep sack instead of loose blankets. Then put your baby down to sleep in that environment and give it 3 nights. Most parents who do this report a noticeable difference within the first night. Babies fall asleep faster. They stay asleep longer. They wake up less during the night. And the parents sleep longer too. The baby product industry has spent decades convincing parents that better sleep requires a bigger investment, a smarter device, a more sophisticated system, a subscription to a sleep coaching app. None of that is true. The research points to something much simpler. The fan is already out there. It costs $1. And tonight, it might be the thing that finally lets both you and your baby get some real sleep. If this video helped you, subscribe and share it with another tired parent who needs to hear this. Every parent who finds this information is one step closer to a full night of sleep. The next video is coming soon, and what is inside is just as important as this.